Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in a video today, and we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans potentially signing quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm personally against it, but I know there are probably a couple, if not probably way more than a couple of Texans fans that would want this to happen. Now, I love Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a great quarterback. Um, Definitely familiar with our new head coach, DeMeco Ryans, and even possibly the new offensive coordinator. I forgot his name. His name Brock. I don't know. But he was their 49ers passing game coordinator, and he is the favorite for the Houston Texans offensive coordinator position. So that's someone Garoppolo is also familiar with. It was announced on Bleacher Report today that the Falcons and Texans are the favorites for Jimmy Garoppolo to land this offseason. Now, it hasn't been reported that Texans have actual interest. It has for the Falcons, but the Falcons and Texans are the two teams to be most interested in Garoppolo. Now, I like Garoppolo. He's a good quarterback, but I really don't want to see Jimmy G. I really don't want to see what was happened to him in San Fran. I don't want to see what was happening with him with San Francisco with the Trey Lance and Brock Purdy thing happened to him in Houston, because the Texans, I'm about 95% sure they're going to draft a QB with that second overall pick. In that case, Jimmy Garoppolo would be the starter for about 2 to 4 games. Sometimes when a quarterback will get drafted, a vet will, start out and then eventually get benched. I mean, Jimmy G played almost 2 seasons until Trey Lance, and then there's only a couple quarterbacks who haven't really played in their early seasons, and that's like Trey Lance and Jordan Love. But I don't think Jimmy G would be a starter that long. And me personally, I do think that Jimmy G is a really talented quarterback, and at least there's about 1 to 5 teams, at least 3 or 5 teams in this league that he can be a starter for the full season. Texans, I just don't see that, because the Texans, they have the second overall pick. If not, they're really stupid. They're going to draft a quarterback with the second overall pick. There's so many better options of Jimmy G to become a starter. Washington, I don't think he'll go there, but potentially, no, I'm not saying I don't think he'll go to Washington, but this next team I don't think he'll go to is the Saints, which I think the Saints are going to get Carr. The Falcons, if the worst thing goes wrong for the Jets, if the Jets can't land Rodgers or Jackson, Garoppolo is an option for the Jets as well. So there are so many options for Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you got the Texans. And I could be missing a team or two. So I just think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback, and I don't want to see happen to him in Houston the same thing that happened to him in San Francisco with them drafting Trey Lance, and he kind of knew that he was their future. So, which turns out he wasn't, because Brock Purdy showed up out of nowhere. But I just think that, also the Panthers possibly, and the Colts possibly for Jimmy G. I mean, there's other teams where he can be a full starter for the whole year. The Texans, I just don't see that with that second overall pick. So, I mean, yeah, I would like it. Obviously, it just depends what the Texans are going to do. Like, if the Texans go on the defensive route, and perhaps, let's say, they decide we're not going to get a quarterback this season, now, I don't think this happens, but I think there is a good chance it could happen, just because of, I believe in DeMeco Ryans, and if he thinks this is the best option, I say go for it. And I don't really mean that, but whatever he thinks, he's our head coach, and I think he's the first head coach in a while that has had this much power. I mean, Bill O'Brien had a lot of power, but he didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't making right decisions with his power. I think DeMeco Ryans, with his power, will make good decisions. Now, I think DeMeco, as a defensive head coach, will want to build this defense. If he doesn't think that, by free agency and trades are over, that he can get this defense to top 5 with trades and free agency, plus, the other defense they have. Maybe if he's confident in drafting Will Anderson and then signing Jimmy G, I don't know. I really like Will Anderson. I think he's a stud, but I think the Texans need a quarterback, and I don't think they should wait until the next year with Caleb Williams. Because here's the thing: I think if you draft Will Anderson and you sign Jimmy Garoppolo and you spend all your other money, I don't think you will be. I really don't think you will be the worst team in the NFL. Bringing in a guy like Will Anderson in the defense and Jimmy G at quarterback and another wide receiver. Jimmy G has some strong tight ends, some good wide receivers, a great defense behind him. The only problem is the O-line. So in that case, I don't see why this Texans team, with Will Anderson being drafted, signing Jimmy G, I don't see why this team wouldn't have a chance to win the division. So in that case, then you have no chance for Caleb Williams, because there would be teams way worse than you. So in that case, again, I think that it would be best for the Texans to let Jimmy G go somewhere else. And with 2, I know it's going to be hard for D'Amico to pass on a defensive player because he loves defensive players. He's a defensive head coach. But pass on Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, whoever falls at 2, and draft Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud at 2, whichever you like better for the organization. That is the right move for the Houston Texans, and it's not a right move for them to sign Jimmy Garoppolo. I think D'Amico, he's a good guy. I think he wants the best for Jimmy G. You can, if you want Bryce Young to sit on the sideline or C.J. Stroud, either one. If you want one of those guys, whoever's going to be your quarterback, to sit on the sideline for a couple weeks because a lot of quarterbacks do that. They'll sit a couple weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even some sits a little more, just depending on the quarterback play of the other quarterback. If you want to sign another veteran quarterback, to let Bryce Young, learn a little bit and develop, or once again, Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, let him sit on the bench and let him develop and learn for a couple games, then sign another veteran. But I just don't think it's the best to send. I really don't want to see Jimmy Garoppolo, end up getting benched for another rookie, because I'm not going to say it's happened twice, because the reason why Brock Purdy came in was because Jimmy G got hurt, but it's happened twice where he's been replaced by 2 rookies. And I'd hate for it to happen 3 times, because I don't know, but I think it could really hurt his career. I really do. But yeah, if I'm Jimmy G, I avoid the Texans. I know you got 2 potential friends there with D'Amico and possibly the new OC. Also, some defensive players might be headed the Texans' way, wanting to join their old defensive coordinator. But if I'm Jimmy G, I stay away from the Texans, because that second overall pick and the Texans drafting the quarterback. I think the best place for Garoppolo, I feel like the Falcons have strong interest, but I don't. If I'm Jimmy G, I wouldn't go there. But if I'm the Falcons, I wouldn't go there either, because I think with Desmond Ridder as their starting quarterback, I think the Falcons have the best chance to land Caleb Williams in the 2024 NFL Draft. So I personally, if I'm the Falcons, I don't sign Jimmy G either, because I think right now, if Desmond Ridder is the quarterback for the Falcons, I think the Falcons have the best shot to land Caleb Williams in the 2024 NFL Draft. And I just think that I've watched him. I think he is like a Patrick Mahomes type player. He has the potential to be as good as Mahomes if he stays healthy and plays good football. I really like Caleb Williams from USC, and I think he will be whoever gets the first overall pick next year is going to be very lucky. And I think if the Falcons, if they start Desmond Ridder all season, I think they will land that first overall pick. Jimmy G, I don't think maybe you do, but I'm not sure if you do. Other teams, what I think Jimmy G fits best is Washington. I'm not too sure about this because Jimmy G's not the best deep thrower, and Terry McLaurin is a guy who likes to run deep routes. So I don't know how Washington's going to feel about that. But I think the best place for Jimmy to go is Washington. I like him on the Commanders. The Jets would be nice if they don't get Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson. But I do feel like the Jets will get Jackson. Maybe the Raiders are interested. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in Jimmy Garoppolo this season. It's a huge quarterback market this offseason. I just don't feel like the Texans are going to be interested. I'm sure D'Amico and the Texans will have a talk with Jimmy. But we'll see. I don't think it happens. But you guys let me know your thoughts. And that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and peace out. Go Texans.